Jai Vishnu Pada Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki Jai.
Bandeham Shri Guru Shiyata Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Rana Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivashikam Vitamscha Om Jnana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Milidam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurkam Guruganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noi Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavananam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Mandetam Shubharam Madeka Sharanam Nyashishvara Shriranam Vanchakopatarubhyas Chakripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And this is Adi-lila chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya and 5 features, which means it's about the Pancha-tattva. Agati eka gatim natva hinartadika sadakam Sri Chaitanyam likyatesha prema bhakti vadanyata. Let me first offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the ultimate goal of life for one bereft of all possessions in this material world, and is the only meaning for one advancing in spiritual life. Thus let me write about his magnanimous contribution of devotional service and love of God. Agati eka gatim natva hinartadika sadakam Sri Chaitanyam likyatesha prema bhakti vadanyata. Okay. Jaya Jaya Mahaprabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Tahara Chanarnashrita Se Boradanya. Let me offer glorification to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who has taken shelter at his lotus feet is the most glorified person. Purve Gorvade Chai Tattve Koila Namaskar Guru Tattva Kohijachi Ebe Panchara Bichar. In the beginning I have discussed the truth about the spiritual master. Now I shall try to explain the Pancha-tattva. Pancha-tattva Abatirna Chaitanya Rasange Pancha-tattva Loya Koren Sankirtana Range. These 5 tattvas incarnate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and thus the Lord executes his Sankirtan movement with great pleasure. Pancha-tattva ek bastu nahi kichu bed rasa swadite tabu bibida bibed. Spiritually, there are no differences between these 5 tattvas, for on the transcendental platform everything is absolute. Yet there are also varieties in the spiritual world, and in order to taste these spiritual varieties, one should distinguish between them. So tattvas here, I'll read. In his Anubhashya commentary, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes the Pancha-tattva as follows. The Supreme Energetic, the personality of Godhead, manifesting in order to enjoy 5 kinds of pastimes, appears as the members of the Pancha-tattva. Actually, there is no difference between them because they are situated on the absolute platform. but they manifest different spiritual varieties as a challenge to the impersonalist to taste different kinds of spiritual humors or rasas. In the Vedas, it is said, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. The varieties of energy of the Lord are differently known. From this statement of the Vedas, one can understand that there are eternal varieties of humors or taste in the spiritual world. Sri Gauranga, Sri Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Sri Gadadhar, and Srivas Thakur are all on the same platform, but in spiritually distinguishing between them, one should understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the form of a devotee, Nityananda Prabhu appears in the form of a devotee's spiritual master, Advaita Prabhu is the form of a bhakta, devotee incarnation, Gadadhar Prabhu is the energy of a bhakta, and Srivas Thakur is a pure devotee. Thus there are spiritual distinctions between them. The Bhakta Roop, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Bhakta Swarup, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and the Bhakta Avatar, Sri Advaita Prabhu, are described as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, His immediate manifestation, and His plenary expansion, and they all belong to the Vishnu category. So how would you define the difference between Bhakta Roop and Bhakta Swarup?
I mean, from the language, there's not much you can say, but just Bhakta Roop would be the ultimate embodiment of a devotee, or just the devotee in the definitive sense, and then Bhakta Swarup, one who has the nature of being a devotee. In other words, who has the nature of another, and thus may be conceived as an expansion of, or a representation of. Or
a personification of.
Sure.
Okay. Although the spiritual and marginal energies of the Lord are non-different from the Supreme Lord Vishnu, they are predominated subjects, whereas Lord Vishnu is the predominator. As such, although they are on the same platform, they have appeared differently in order to facilitate tasting of transcendental rasas. Actually, however, there is no possibility of one being different from the other, for the worshipper and the worshipable cannot be separated at any stage. On the absolute platform, one cannot be understood without the other. Pancha-tattva Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Let me offer my obeisances unto Sri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Let me offer my obeisances unto Sri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the immediate expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his brother. He is the personified spiritual bliss of Satchidananda Vigraha. His body is transcendental and full of ecstasy and devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is therefore called Bhakta Rupa, the form of a devotee, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu is called Bhakta Swarup, the expansion of a devotee. Sri Advaita Prabhu, the incarnation of a devotee, is Vishnu Tattva and belongs to the same category. There are also different types of bhaktas or devotees on the platform of neutrality, which is Shantaras, servitude, Dasharas, friendship, Sakyaras, parenthood, Vatsalyaras, and conjugal love, Madhuryaras. Devotees like Sri Damodar, Sri Gadadhar, and Sri Ramananda are different energies. This confirms the Vedic sutra, Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. All these bhakta subjects taken together constitute Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. And whenever Srila Govinda Maharaj would give Harinam, he would say, before you chant the holy names on your beads or on your japa, you should say the Pancha-tattva mantra, which is Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. So that Pancha-tattva Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Svarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. That's what's being described, that verse. So Bhakta Rupa Mahaprabhu is showing himself as the devotee, and Bhakta Swarupa, we can say, like the personification of a devotee. Whatever as devotee is shown as Sri Nityananda Prabhu, a perfect servitor of one spiritual master, you can say that, giving that idea. He's taken Mahaprabhu and he's spreading Mahaprabhu's glories everywhere. Svayam Bhagavan Krishna Ekaleishwara Advitiya Nandatmaja Rasika Shekhar, Krishna, the reservoir of all pleasure, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, the Supreme Controller. No one is greater than or equal to Sri Krishna, yet he appears as the son of Maharaj Nanda. Rasade Bilasi, Braja Lalanas Nagar, Arajat Sabadeka Taraparikar. Sri Krishna is the supreme enjoyer in the rasa dance. He is the leader of the damsels of Braja, and all others are simply his associates. The word Rasadi Vilasi, the enjoyer of the rasa dance, is very important. The rasa dance can be enjoyed only by Sri Krishna because he is the supreme leader and chief of the damsels of Vrindavan. All others are his devotees and associates. Although no one can compare with Sri Krishna, there are many unscrupulous rascals who imitate the rasa dance of Sri Krishna. They are mayavadis, and the people should be wary of them. The rasa dance can be performed only by Sri Krishna and no one else. So this is also Prabhupada's terminology. He would, for him that was a strong word, rascal, you rascal. Sometimes he would say it jokingly, and sometimes it would be a very strong epithet, to call somebody a rascal. So that was his use. So he says, although no one can compare with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are many unscrupulous rascals who imitate the rasa dance of Sri Krishna. So in that case, the word rascal is not being said affectionately at all. Say Krishna Vatirna Sri Krishna Chaitanya, say Parikara Gana Sange Sabadanya. The self-same Lord Krishna invented himself as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with all his eternal associates, who are also equally glorious. Ekale Ishwara Tattva Chaitanya Ishwar Bhakta Baba Moy Tara Shudakolebar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Controller, the one personality of Godhead, has ecstatically become a devotee, yet his body is transcendental and not materially tinged. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Controller, the one personality of Godhead, has ecstatically become a devotee, yet his body is transcendental and not materially tinged. Krishna Madhur Jara Ek Adbhuta Swabhab Apana Ashwadite Krishna Kore Bhakta Bhab. The transcendental mellow of conjugal love of Krishna is so wonderful that Krishna himself accepts the form of a devotee to relish and taste it fully. Ite Bhakta Bhabadare Chaitanya Gosai Bhakta Swarupatara Nityananda Bhai. For this reason, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Teacher, accepts the form of a devotee and accepts Lord Nityananda as his elder brother. So, here we're speaking about the Pancha-tattva. And these are subjects that are we're familiar with them. But if anybody is hearing this and has a question that they don't understand the terminology or the words being used or the explanation, you can ask a question. You can say, there's something here I didn't understand. You can ask that question. Okay? The transcendental mellow of conjugal love of Krishna is so wonderful that Krishna himself accepts the form of a devotee to relish and taste it fully. Ite Bhakta Baba Dhare Chaitanya Gosai Bhakta Swarup Tara Nityananda Bai. For this reason, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Teacher, accepts the form of a devotee and accepts Lord Nityananda as his elder brother. Bhakta Avatara Tara Acharya Gosai 18 Tattva Sabe Prabhu Korigai. Sri Advaitacharya is Mahaprabhu's incarnation as a devotee. Therefore, these three tattvas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Gosai, are the predominators or masters. So, this is some terminology that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used when he talked about the predominating moiety and the predominated moiety. A moiety, you can say, means half, and two halves obviously together form a whole. So the predominating moiety is Krishna, is the predominating moiety. He's the powerful. And the predominated moiety, we can say, is the predominated moiety means that half which is predominated over. But in a different sense, we can say that the Lord is the predominating, the supreme predominator. And everyone else is, we can say, is predominated energy. But also, we can say in the case of, for instance, where we say predominating moiety, Krishna, predominated moiety, Srimati Radharani, the difference there is the powerful and the power. And there can't be any meaning to the word powerful without having power. And Govinda Maharaj many times repeated that. The example, he said, this light bulb, it's showing itself, but that's because there's power going through it, which is the electricity. So when we talk about predominated moiety and predominating moiety and predominated moiety, we're talking about Krishna and his energy, Srimati Radharani, that supreme energy. Okay. Sri Advaitacharya is Mahaprabhu's incarnation as a devotee. Therefore, these three tattvas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Gosai, are the predominators or masters. So the Lord, this is saying all three of these persons are the Lord himself, the Lord form of, so they're all Vishnu Tattva, let's put it that way. Eka Mahaprabhu Ara Prabhu Dvijan Dui Prabhu Sebe Mahaprabhu Charan. One of them is Mahaprabhu, the other two are Prabhus. These two Prabhus serve the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. So, Prabhu means the Lord, although in our terminology we refer to devotees as Prabhus, right? We'll see. But actually the word Prabhu, and sometimes I've seen some persons, they may be a sannyasi and someone will call them Prabhu, and they'll become, I'm not Prabhu. But actually Prabhu is a very high term, although there may be some etiquette as to. And I was, when we were in, as I mentioned, Morelia, there was, at that time, now he's big, he's like 21, but at that time he was 3, something like 3. There was one boy, 3-year-old boy, his name was Govinda. And he said, everybody else is called Prabhu, this Prabhu, Jai Balai Prabhu and Pitamar Prabhu and different Prabhus. And he says, but everyone just calls me Govinda. And he was very angry. He's 3 years old. So from that time on, everyone called him Prabhu Govinda. So the word Prabhu means Lord. Okay. The three predominators, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu, are worshipable by all living entities. And the fourth, I didn't read that yet. 18-tattva, Sarva Rajya Korimani, Chaturta Jay, Bhakta-tattva, Aradaka Jani, what I had read. One of them is Mahaprabhu and the other two are Prabhus. These two Prabhus serve the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. 18-tattva, Sarva Rajya Korimani, Chaturta Jay, Bhakta-tattva, Aradaka Jani. The three predominators, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Advaita Prabhu, are worshipable by all living entities. And the fourth principle, Sri Gadadhar Prabhu, is to be understood as their worshipper. In his Anubhashya, Sri Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, describing the truth about the Pancha-tattva, explains that we should understand that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the supreme predominator and that Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu are his subordinates, but they are also predominators. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, and Nityananda Prabhu and Advaita Prabhu are manifestations of the Supreme Lord. All of them are Vishnu Tattva, the Supreme, and are therefore worshipable by the living entities. Although the other two tattvas within the category of Pancha-tattva, namely Shakti Tattva and Jiva Tattva, represented by Gadadhar and Srivas, are worshippers of the Supreme Lord, they are in the same category because they eternally engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Srivasadi Jatakoti Koti Bhaktagan Shuddha Bhakta Tattva Madhye Tasabarganan. There are innumerable pure devotees of the Lord headed by Srivas Thakur who are known as unalloyed devotees. Gadadhar Panditadi Prabhu Shakti Avatar Antaranga Bhakta Kori Ganana Jahar. The devotees headed by Gadadhar Pandit are to be considered incarnations of the internal potency of the Lord. They are confidential devotees engaged in the service of the Lord. So, in connection with verses 16 and 17, so I'll read what they are. There are innumerable pure devotees of the Lord, headed by Srivas Thakur, who are known as unalloyed devotees. The devotees headed by Gadadhar Pandit are to be considered incarnations of the internal potency of the Lord. They are confidential devotees engaged in the service of the Lord. So in connection with these verses, Sri Bhakti-siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains in his Anubhashya, there are specific symptoms by which the internal devotees and the unalloyed pure devotees are to be known. All unalloyed devotees are Shakti Tattvas, or potencies of the Lord. Some of them are situated in conjugal love and others in filial affection, fraternity, and servitude. Certainly all of them are devotees, but by making a comparative study, it is found that the devotees or potencies who are engaged in conjugal love are better situated than the others. Thus, devotees who are in a relationship with the Supreme Lord in conjugal love are considered to be the most confidential devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those who engage in the service of Lord Nityananda Prabhu and Lord Advaita Prabhu generally have relationships of paternal love, fraternity, servitude, and neutrality. When such devotees develop great attachment for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they too become situated within the intimate circle of devotees in conjugal love. This gradual development of devotional service is described by Sri Narottam Das Thakur as follows. Goranga bolite habe pulaka sharir hari hari bolite nayane babe nir. Arakabe nitai chanda karuna koribe, samsara basana mor kabe tu chabe. Vishaya chadiya kabe, shuddha habe man, kabe hama heraba Shri Brindavan. Rupa Raghunatha pade, hoibe akuti, kabe hama bujaba Shri Jugala priti. When will there be eruptions on my body as soon as I chant the name of Lord Chaitanya? And when will there be incessant torrents of tears as soon as I chant the holy name of Hare Krishna? Holy names, Hare Krishna. When will Lord Nityananda be merciful toward me and free me from all desires for material enjoyment? When will my mind be completely freed from all contamination of desires for material pleasure? Only at that time will it be possible for me to understand Vrindavan. Only if I become attached to the instructions given by the 6 Goswamis, headed by Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, will it be possible for me to understand the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna. By attachment to the devotional service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one immediately comes to the ecstatic position. When one develops one's love for Nityananda Prabhu, one is freed from all attachment to the material world, and at that time one becomes eligible to understand the Lord's pastimes in Vrindavan. In that connection, when one develops one's love for the 6 Goswamis, one can understand the conjugal love between Radha and Krishna. These are the different stages of a pure devotee's promotion to conjugal love in the service of Radha and Krishna in an intimate relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ja Saba Loya Prabhur Nitya Bihar, Ja Saba Loya Prabhur Kirtana Prachar, Ja Saba Loya Koran Prema Ashwadan, Jasaba Loya Dana Kore Premadan. The internal devotees or potencies are all eternal associates in the pastimes of the Lord. Only with them does the Lord advent to propound the Sankirtan movement. Only with them does the Lord taste the mellow of conjugal love, and only with them does he distribute this love of God to people in general. Distinguishing between pure devotees and internal or confidential devotees, Sri Rupa Goswami in his book Upadeshamrita traces the following gradual process of development. Out of many thousands of karmis, one is better when one is situated in perfect Vedic knowledge. Out of many such learned scholars and philosophers, one who is actually liberated from material bondage is better, and out of many such persons who are actually liberated, one who is a devotee of the Lord is considered to be the best. Among the many such transcendental lovers of the Lord, the gopis are the best, and among the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the best. Srimati Radhika is very dear to Krishna, and similarly, her pawns, namely Shyamakund and Radhakund, are also very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in his Anubhashya that among the 5 tattvas, 2 are energies, Shakti-tattva, that among the 5 tattvas, 2 are energies, Shakti-tattva, and the 3 others are energetic, Shaktiman-tattva. Unalloyed and internal devotees are both engaged in the favorable culture of Krishna consciousness, untinged by philosophical speculation or fruitive activities. They are all understood to be pure devotees, and those among them who simply engage in conjugal love are called Madhurya Bhaktas, or internal devotees. The loving services in parental love, fraternity, and servitude are included in conjugal love of God. In conclusion, therefore, every confidential devotee is a pure devotee of the Lord. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoys his pastimes with his immediate expansion, Nityananda Prabhu. His pure devotees and his three Purusha incarnations, namely Karanodakashayi Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Shirodakashayi Vishnu, always accompany the Supreme Lord to propound the Sankirtan movement. Okay. Say Pancha-tattva mili prithiviyasya purva prema bandhare mudra ugadiya panchemili lute prema kore ashwadan jata jata piye trishna bade anukan. The characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his associates of the Pancha-tattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. So we can understand that here there's a simple statement. The characteristic of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Mahaprabhu came with his associates of the Pancha-tattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. So in saying that it's sealed, when Krishna was present, he was enjoying with his own internal or intimate devotees. So we'll call that Madhurya Ras. It's very concentrated and being enjoyed between Mahaprabhu and the most exalted servitors. But between Krishna and the most exalted servitors. When Krishna was present, this was sealed. But when Mahaprabhu came, then he introduced what's called Adi-lila. And he's distributing in all directions. He's distributing what Krishna came to taste, Mahaprabhu is tasting, and he's giving to others. He's engaging others. He's bringing others and in with him, and they're all distributing on a massive level, and that's where the glories of the Pancha-tattva come in. That Mahaprabhu with his associates are distributing very broadly what was previously tasted by Krishna and his close associates in Vrindavan. So Pancha-tattva becomes they're all together, engaged with Mahaprabhu in intimate relationships and all working with him to distribute everywhere. And you can say visibly that's going on is the Sankirtan movement, the chanting and dancing, and as Maharaj mentioned, he wanted to hear about the inundation of love of God. Well, that's what's happening with Mahaprabhu. It's being, as we continue, we'll see, it's being compared to a flood of love of Godhead, which is going everywhere, and people are being drowned in that flood of love of Godhead. So when you're in this world and there's a flood and people are drowning, then they become very much disturbed, obviously. I don't know about any of you, but I've experienced on several occasions where I've been drowning, and you're just fighting and struggling for air. But when Mahaprabhu's inundation, it's a different kind of drowning. It's described that only some persons couldn't be drowned in that flood of love of Godhead, like the mayavadi impersonalists, the sahajias, some of the students. Some in Mahaprabhu's lila, sometimes students, they have a bad connotation, because they're, what can you say about the student community during Mahaprabhu's time? They tried, the statement familiarity breeds contempt, and they try to equate themselves with Mahaprabhu. We're Brahmins like him. Why is he trying to, put us in a relegated position? So sometimes the mayavadis, the students, and others are said to be escaping the inundation of love of Godhead. So everyone else is being drowned, and these persons are compared to floating. They're floating. The inundation is going on and drowning everyone else, but the unfortunate persons are floating. They're not being drowned. So then Mahaprabhu devises a means of submerging those persons also. And that's related to his sannyas lila. So that becomes interesting, because then sometimes when persons come to us and they'll give a reason, maybe similar to Mahaprabhu, they'll say, why do you want to take sannyas? And then somebody will say, because I want to be respected, and by that respect I'll be able to preach better. And it's like, fail, dismissed. That's not a good reason. With Mahaprabhu, it's a good reason because he's the Supreme Lord. So if someone just offers them respect, then they benefit. But just to say that I want respect, that way I can preach, that's not a good reason. That's just mundane pratishta. I want some pratishta so I can preach better. Not a very good reason. Whereas when I came to Prabhupada, he asked me why I took sannyas, and I answered, because I can't work with my god brothers. That was my answer. And nowadays, if people answered that, why do you want to take sannyas? Because I can't work with anybody else. Oh, please, get out of here. It would be dismissed. But Prabhupada replied to me, oh, very good reason. Can't work with my god brothers. Why would he respond like that to such a strange statement? I can't work with my god brothers.
He saw your mood, Maharaj.
No, because he couldn't work with his god brothers either. So he identified with that, maybe. I can't know. He's a pure personality. Who can know what he's thinking? But he told me, oh, very good reason. So, anyway. The Sri Pancha-tattva themselves, Puna Puna, Pi Hoy, Mahamata, Nache Kande Hatsegai, Jaiche Maramata. Sri Pancha-tattva themselves danced again and again, and thus made it easier to drink nectarian love of Godhead. They danced, cried, laughed, and chanted like madmen, and in this way they distributed love of Godhead. So just listen, that sounds so nice. Sri Pancha-tattva themselves danced again and again, and thus made it easier to drink nectarian love of Godhead. They danced, cried, laughed, and chanted like madmen, and in this way they distributed love of Godhead. So who dances and chants? Who will sing and dance and act like madmen? Who in this world, who will be like that? You can say someone. Having been at the program, I can say, yesterday's program. Drunks. Drunks. They dance and laugh, and they're drinking something nectarian, but not love of Godhead. They dance and cry and laugh and chant like madmen, and in this way. But this is divine sentiment. Sri Pancha-tattva themselves danced again and again, and thus made it easier to drink nectarian love of Godhead. They danced, cried, laughed, and chanted like madmen, and in this way they distributed love of Godhead. People generally cannot understand the actual meaning of chanting and dancing. Describing the Goswami, Sri Srinivasacharya stated, Krishnod Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro. Not only did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates demonstrate this chanting and dancing, but the 6 Goswamis also followed in the next generation. The present Krishna consciousness movement follows the same principle, and therefore simply by chanting and dancing we have received good responses all over the world. It is to be understood, however, that this chanting and dancing do not belong to the material world. They are actually transcendental activities, for the more one engages in chanting and dancing, the more one can taste the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead. Sankirtan, chanting and dancing. Patra vichar nahi stanastan, jai jana Payataha Kore Premadan. In distributing love of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Pancha-tattva distributed love of Godhead. So we went to a program yesterday. Some of the persons at the program we would call irregular, just like when you're making shirts or pants, there will be some that are irregular. The stitching doesn't go exactly right. So they'll be irregular. So we went to the program. Some of the persons, what I saw, you would say they were irregular. But I was thinking like this here. In distributing love of God, and Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Pancha-tattva distributed love of God. And so when I'm seeing that things are a little irregular, then I'm thinking, this is a test for me, I want mercy, so these persons are also looking for mercy. So they should get it. One should give it to them. One shouldn't consider, these are not fit candidates. No, it says here, distributing love of God, and Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Pancha-tattva distributed love of God. And although things were initially going on and one's thinking, what is this? But as things continued, all these persons began to respond also in a positive way. Even you can see wherever you make contact with somebody and you're trying to maintain a relationship with that person of, they're listening, you're speaking, you're trying to have some, interchange with somebody, they respond. People respond. And why is that? Because Govinda Maharaj has said, people respond to affection. And that's what they respond to. And that's really what Sankirtan is about, isn't it? Affectionate dealings with the environment, right? Huh? When one is doing Sankirtan, one is not thinking that, these are fit persons or these are not fit persons. We're not considering ourselves as such, what can you say, such members of the society. How can you say it as being in the upper echelon of society? We're not thinking ourselves as that way. We're thinking ourselves as mendicants. Lutiya kaya diya mandara ujjade ascharya bandara prema shataguna mare. Although the members of the Pancha-tattva plundered the storehouse of love of God and ate and distributed its contents, there was no scarcity. For this wonderful storehouse is so complete that as the love is distributed, the supply increases hundreds of times. So it's, if you have an ordinary cake, you cut it into parts, and you distribute the parts to everyone, then no cake remains. But that's not the way. That's not the way what we're dealing with. Or we can say prema is not like that. It's not like by giving some to everyone, now you have none left. It's not on that kind of it's not a mundane conception. Although the members of the Pancha-tattva plundered the storehouse of love of God and ate and distributed its contents, There was no scarcity, for this wonderful storehouse is so completed that as the love is distributed, the supply increases hundreds of times. Okay. Ucha-lila prema banya chodike bada. Ucha-lila prema banya chodike bedai Sri Brita Balakjuva Sabare Dubai. The flood of love of God had swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women, and children were all immersed in that inundation. Ah, there you have it. You were asking about inundations, right? The flood of love of God had swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women, and children were all immersed in that inundation. And we could say even beyond that. Even non-humans were involved in that flood. Everyone. Sajjana, Durjana, Pangu, Jara, Andagan, Prema, Badanyaya. No. Sajjana, Durjana, Pangu, Jara Andagan, Prema, Banjaya, Dubaila, Jagatarajan. The Krishna conscious movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid or blind, invalid. Invalid or invalid. The Krishna consciousness movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid, or blind. I remember when we were in Calcutta in the very beginning, there was one man, his name was Chakravarti. And he always, Hari Charan says that too, but he'd always shout when Prabhupada was there, he'd go, Ek Bindu Jagat Dubai. That was a saying of Hari Charan too. One drop is enough to flood the whole world. What is that? How's this verse again? The Krishna conscious movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid, or blind. Jagat dubila jiver hoila bijanash. Jagat dubila jiver hoila bijnash. Tahadeki pancha janer parama ulas. When the 5 members of the Pancha-tattva saw the entire world drowned in love of God and in the seed of material enjoyment, and the living entities completely destroyed, they all became exceedingly happy. When the 5 members of the Pancha-tattva saw the entire world drowned in love of God and in the seed of material enjoyment, and the living entities completely destroyed, they all became exceedingly happy. And quite often, I don't know how about every 7 years in Navadip, there'd be a big flood. And by flood, I mean maybe the water will come up to this light switch, sometimes, and sometimes higher. And during that time, there are plants, and the flood will make it so those plants some of the plants, they have to be replanted after that. The flood will kill some of the plants, and it says here, when the 5 members of the Pancha-tattva saw the entire world drowned in love of God and the seed of material enjoyment and living entities completely destroyed, they all became exceedingly happy. Well, that's the effect of a flood. Can destroy the seed of love of God. The seed of material enjoyment will destroy that. Jata jata prema vrishti kore pancha jane tata tata bade or jala bhyape tribhuvane bade. The more the 5 members of the Pancha-tattva caused the rains of love of God had to fall, the more the inundation increases and spreads all over the world. mayavadi karmanishta kutarkika gan, nindaka pashande jat paduya adam, sesab mahadaka dana palaila, sebanya tasabare chunite narila. The impersonalists, fruitive workers, false logicians, blasphemers, non-devotees, and lowest among the student community are very expert in avoiding the Krishna consciousness movement, and therefore the inundation of Krishna consciousness cannot touch them. The impersonalists, fruitive workers, false logicians, blasphemers, non-devotees, and lowest among the student community are very expert in avoiding the Krishna conscious movement, and therefore the inundation of Krishna consciousness cannot touch them. So can someone answer, why are the students being singled out for punishment? Can we say? Why does it say the lowest among the student community? What is there in particular about them? Here we hear the impersonalists, fruitive workers or karmis, false logicians, blasphemers, non-devotees, and lowest among the student community are very expert in avoiding the Krishna conscious movement, and therefore the inundation of Krishna consciousness cannot touch them. Some comment? Some persons were students. What does it refer to as here as the lowest of the student community?
The students who had more confidence in what they were studying than what Mahaprabhu came to give them.
Yeah. When I first got with Prabhupada in Kolkata, we went to a college to do preaching program. And at that time, Calcutta was very much influenced by what's called the, what do they call that? The Naxalite movement was very strong then. And all the students were like following, this form, Naxalite communism. So they were very radical. And we went there. Anyway, they were acting in that way, very kind of very argumentative, they would say. We see all of you are dancing and chanting, but we are from Bengal, and we don't see any of us students are interested in this. Can you explain why that is? It was like a challenge, You're all happy chanting and dancing, but we're Bengalis. This is from this is part of our culture, but we're not very much interested. Can you explain why that is? That's what they asked to Srila Prabhupada. It's a challenge. So that kind of lowest among the student community. I'll read the purport and then maybe I'll comment on that. Like Mayavadi philosophers in the past, such as Prakashananda Saraswati of Benares, modern impersonalists are not interested in Lord Chaitanya's Krishna conscious movement. They do not know the value of this material world. They consider it false and cannot understand how the Krishna conscious movement can utilize it. They are so absorbed in impersonal thought that they take it for granted that all spiritual variety is material. Because they do not know anything beyond their misconception of the Brahma Jyoti, they cannot understand that Krishna is spiritual and therefore beyond the conception of material illusion. Whenever Krishna incarnates personally or as a devotee, these Mayavadi philosophers accept him as an ordinary human being. This is condemned in the Bhagavad Gita. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanamashritam parambhava majananto mama bhuta maheshwar. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. There are also other unscrupulous persons who exploit the Lord's appearance by posing as incarnations to cheat the innocent public as incarnations of gods, should pass the test of the statements of the Shastras and also perform uncommon activities. An incarnation of God should pass the test of the statements of the Shastras and also perform uncommon activities. One should not accept a rascal as an incarnation of God, but should test his ability to act as the Supreme Personality of God. And so you can say to them, they say, I'm the Supreme Lord, you can say, okay, but it should be a very easy thing. Show us your Virata Rupa. Or show us the Virata Rupa. It should be very easy for you. Okay. Universal form. For example, Krishna taught Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna also accepted him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But for our understanding, Arjuna requested the Lord to manifest his universal form, thus testing whether he was actually the Supreme Lord. Similarly, one must test a so-called incarnation of Godhead according to the standard criteria. To avoid being misled by an exhibition of mystic powers, it is best to examine a so-called incarnation of God in the light of the statements of the Shastras. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described in the Shastras as an incarnation of Krishna. Therefore, if one wants to imitate Lord Chaitanya and claim to be an incarnation, he must show evidence from the Shastras about his appearance to substantiate his claim. Anyway, as I was saying, when lowest of the student community, as it's mentioned here, that's what I felt like when they were saying, oh, you're all interested in Krishna consciousness and dancing and chanting, but we're Bengalis, we're students, we're not very interested. Why is that? It was like a direct kind of both a challenge and an insult all in one. And I would consider that lowest of the student community. That kind of arrogance, so much, and sometimes we've been students, many of us, and we've gone through that know-it-all stage that many students display, that they know so much about this world, when actually they're young and they haven't really experienced this world, but they know how to solve all the problems of the world. And I think that's, I won't say I think, but that's something of the attitude that's being referred to. They'll try to examine who is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and dismiss him or relegate him based on their so-called intellectual prowess. But that's not really a sufficient criteria for understanding what is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and what is his mission. Just saying like that. But in another sense, Srila Maharaj, when persons came to him as spiritual masters, although they were very young, Srila Maharaj says, I do not see you as masters, I see you as students. And he said, but I also consider myself a student, although he was around 90 years old at the time, or close to it. He said, I also see myself as a student. But that's a good student. In that sense, we're all students. But here it doesn't dismiss all students, it just dismisses the lowest of the student community, meaning those persons dominated by arrogance. Yes?
You haven't mentioned what Srila Prabhupada answered to the student.
What did he answer to them?
You haven't mentioned yet.
Oh, you want to hear that? I've told that, but okay. When that person said to Srila Prabhupada, none of us have any interest, why is that? It was a challenge. Then Srila Prabhupada said, you must be one of four kinds of people. Namam duskratino mudha prapadyante naradama maya parita jnana suram bhavamashrita. He said, you must be some kind of duskratina, impious persons, And he said, maybe you're Imam Duskratino Mudha, maybe you're asses who just believe in working all day long, and for what? For some carrot that's dangled in front of your nose. You never, the master of the ass puts a carrot on a stick in front of his nose, and he's always walking towards the carrot, but never attains that. I mean, this is an example, but just mundane workers with no higher values in life, mudhas, asses, Imam Duskratino Mudha, Prapadyante Naradama, how you pronounce it? Naradama? Lowest among men, he put it. Lowest of men. You have interest in so many things. Culture, theater, so many interests, but no interest in spiritual life. Therefore, Naradama, lowest among men. Or he said, Maya Parita Jnana. He says, you are studying, but all your knowledge is simply stolen by illusion. Maya Parita Jnana. And he said, or Asura Ashram, Maya Parita Jnana, Asura Bhava Mashrita. And then he pronounced it in his own pronunciation. He said, or maybe you are simply demons. That's how he pronounced, how he said demons. He said, or maybe you are simply demons. So lowest ass, lowest among mankind, all your knowledge is stolen by illusion or demons. And he said, but I'm not saying this, so don't take my offense. These are not my words, he said. These are the words of Krishna, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's how he, and now let's have kirtan. I liked that way because that he answered, because that student was acting very proud and trying to, you're all very interested in this, but you're all foreigners, but we're Bengalis and we don't have any interest in this. Why is that? They said, that must be one of these four kinds of persons. So the person was trying to intimidate Prabhupada, but instead Prabhupada just gave him a slap, which I thought was nice. I appreciated that kind of demeanor of Prabhupada. When he was installing deities in Bombay, one person who was not trying to be nasty or anything, but one person referred to the deities as statues. And then Srila Prabhupada said, you see, there are people from all over the world, some people from Australia, from America, from South America, from Africa, people from all over the world are here. You think they've come so far just to see statues? He said it. And the man was, the man wasn't trying to, he just used the wrong word. So the man became, he said, do you think they have come so far just to see your statues? And then the man fell at Prabhupada's feet and was offering dandavats to Prabhupada. And then when he stood up, then Prabhupada affectionately put his hand on his head. And it didn't bear any malice against the person, but it was interesting, some of the interchanges we saw with him. One person from the government came and was in South India, was arguing with him. And Prabhupada was answering in an affectionate way. But then when Prabhupada finished talking with the person, Prabhupada said, so many So many tons of blood I must burn up just to convince fools like you. The man did, because Prabhu was older and he's younger and he's an the man was an Indian gentleman of some sort, minister. He didn't take, when Prabhupada said, so many tons of blood must I burn up just to convince fools like you. The man didn't become insulted. He just took it as, this is the way a sadhu is reprimanding me. And he took it in a good way, A little bit of culture. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopa Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Janardan Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Jai Rupa Sanatam Bhatta Raguna Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raguna Jai Gosai Kori Chanana Bandhan Jai Te Vijnana Shabishta Puran Jai Gosai Jarmui Taradan Tasamar Paravenu Mora Panchagas Tadir Charana Sevi Prakashananda Janame Janame More Adi-lila Jai Gosai Jabe Bhaje Kodaman Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Bindavan Guru Vaishnava Pade Majayaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryan Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamuna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajaka Charyashta Tara Sada Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajaka Charyashta Tara Sada Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakshidhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sananta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Harshivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagwat Ki Jai. Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishwavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kana Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sripad Bhakti Kamal Tyagi Maharaj Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki Jai.
Today is our Sunday program. Starting in theory at 12 o'clock.